Hello there, welcome to another episode of World of Tanks and Gainy Titan, and in this episode we're going to talk about the IS-2M. So I've been playing with the IS-2M over the weekend, having won it in the spring games, and what can I say? There's not actually a lot really to say about the IS-2M that I've not already said about the IS-2, or probably about the IS as well before that. There's really not a lot to pick between the three tanks, and in fact the IS-2 and the IS-2M are, in terms of playstyle, they're practically identical. There are slight differences in the armour. The IS-2M has probably, well, some of the armour in the front is better. Some of the armour in the front is worse. So the central region of the front is better. I think the third front is about the same. But there's the cheeks in the side of it, the turret or the front, that are actually weaker. And the gun is the same, gun handling is the same, so it's the D25T, isn't it? I think. The same gun you get all over the place in the mid-tier Russians. You get it in tier 6s, you get it in tier 7s, get it in the KV3, get it in the IS, get it in the IS-2, get it in the IS-2M. And get it a bunch of other places as well. It even turns up at tier 10 of stock guns and some of the Russian tanks that have an actual, or tier 9 certainly, it appears as stock guns, but you don't want to use that gun at tier 9. You really don't want to use that gun at tier 9, because the gun handling is terrible and the penetration is very poor. It's okay at tier 7, because if you're close enough you can shoot the weak spots, and if you're far away enough you won't hit anything at all. Probably not what you're aiming at any rate. So therefore it is a gun to, it's a tank that you need to be close to the enemies with, and the closer you are in some ways the better. However, I benefited from the fact that we had the +1 -1 matchmaking. Now personally I enjoyed the +1 -1 matchmaking. I wasn't bothered by it. I know some people were kind of bothered by it because they, some of the higher skilled players certainly seemed to be bothered by it because they felt that the tanks were imbalanced for +1 -1, or they felt that they could get the odd glorious game where you're bottom tier and you just kick ass, take names, and you're the guy top of the table even though you're bottom tier. Now while I appreciate those games and I've contributed to the I've done well at bottom tier thread a few times, maybe not as many as some, but certainly a few times. And it is, yes, it's a great thrill, a great sense of accomplishment when you're 2 tiers down and you're the guy that comes out top of the table, and especially if it's not a light tank, because it's, I won't say it's easy to do in light tanks, it's not easy to do in any tank, but it's because light tanks are so good at spotting, if you can actually play the spotting game, and more to the point I suppose, if you can get people to shoot at the things you're spotting, so that if you can spot them at the right time, spot them in when people are in a position to shoot them, you can do really well bottom tier. However, it's far more challenging to do well bottom tier in either a heavy tank or a medium tank. It's not too bad a tank destroyer, depending on the tank destroyers, but tank destroyers are a different kind of game. I personally find that I do pretty well on tank destroyers, so it's a thing. But back to the IS-2M. Now, the one thing I would say is I don't think there's any noticeable difference, at least to me, in the playstyle between the IS-2 and the IS-2M. So it's not a tank, how would I put it? Well, I don't think either of them are actually tanks that I'd buy, but they're okay. I mean, they're fun, you'll play reasonably well, they're good crew trainers. They're probably better crew trainers than the tier 8s, and they're probably, at this stage, the tier 8 Russian heavy tanks, the IS-6 and the KV5. Well, I think the KV5 is fun, but I haven't played it in a year, I suppose. I must actually pull it out again, see how it's weathering. The IS-6 is definitely not weathering well. It's a tank that has been what you would say, left behind somewhat. The gun is, I think, the same gun again. Yeah, the IS-6 has the gun on this, same gun on this tank, and doesn't have preferential matchmaking, I don't think. It used to anyway, and definitely struggles with this gun at tier 8. So I wouldn't. So this might be actually better to get than the IS-6. On the other hand, like I said, the KV-5 is a different kind of fun. But if you have the IS-2, the IS-2M is going to be more or less the same again. And if you have the IS-2M, the IS-2 is more or less the same again. That said, they were both, well, no, I didn't get the IS-2 free, so to speak. I got it from one of the crates, or loot boxes, essentially, and therefore it wasn't exactly free, but it wasn't, you know, you didn't have a choice over what you got. You paid your money and you took your chances and you got whatever tank you were given. So we get to see it in a slightly different light here in Windstorm, and because we're top tier. And top tier is, I think, well, it's going to shine. It's at its best, so you get the best damage output. It's a pretty effective tank. And I think most of the enemy tanks, the Oni is going to give it trouble. The Minuteman, if it was on the other team, would give it trouble as well from the front. Possibly from the sides as well. The Minuteman is extra heavily armoured T-29. And T-29s are pretty decent armour anyway. So this is another actually ideal map for the IS-2M. It's an urban, or at least we have the option of urban warfare. I wouldn't be inclined to take it up along the hills to the northern end of the map, because a lot of that's going to be on slopes and stuff like that, so the gun depression is going to come against you. So I'm going to come through the town and we'll see how we get on. Sometimes you don't get a lot, you can get a lot of opposition in the town, sometimes you can get very little opposition in the town. A lot of tanks going to the town actually in this particular game, and it looks like we're a bit short-handed in the northern end of the map. But then, if the people in the town push through decisively enough, that can make a difference. Whereas on the other hand, if they sit back and start faffing around, you can lose the others in the map quicker. Well, that enemy absolution's gone into cover. There's an E25 and an Oni in front of me, and the Oni is pretty scary, but I'm going to cross the road anyway. And so far, I'm getting away with it. I haven't taken any damage. I'm taking some side shots, probably from the absolution. VK3002. Well, if he hangs around long enough, I'll put a round through him. 443, no problem. 88, boldly making his way down the road in front of me, so I'm going to try and track this guy, preferably in a way that will cause maximum amount of embarrassment. He has faced in towards me, but I don't think he's facing anybody at the moment. And the gun doesn't have a huge traverse, I think, in the 88. So we're reloaded, the 88's taking a bit of a pounding, and I just kind of don't want to expose too much tank here. Give it the time, let it aim in, and we finish him off. Somebody's coming into the town behind us, and I'm going to come out here and shoot at the Oni. I was hoping to get a tracking shot in the Oni as well, but it doesn't look like I've managed it. I haven't taken any damage so far, but bounced quite a bit of damage, and this guy's going to come around behind me again. So I'd better face him off, and he comes here to the corner at the VK again, and we just put a round into him. And it's just a question of finishing him off. Now I think this is where I make a big mistake. I really should probably have turned around and gone after the tank behind me in the town. I came out and wasn't really aware of the, whatever it is, tank destroyer up in the hill, the Plague Bringer. Anyway, So I left the Plague Bringer put a lot of rounds into me that I needn't have done, and I would have been better off taking a different option. I think I was fixated on getting around the back of the O&E. And really, our tanks should be pushing on the O&E hard. Just come at it from different sides. They'll knock him down quick. Like, he's only a tier 7 tank at the end of the day. And once you get to the side of them, the armour isn't worth much. Whereas if you start facing off in front, you're playing to its strengths. And as it turns out, we're already being capped. And we've enemies in the town behind us. We've actually got enemies all along between us now and the cap circle. So when we're coming back, we're going to start running into these enemies, and it's going to hold us up and prevent a cap reset. We're coming around here. I was hoping to avoid the guy in front of me in the town, and then I'd get around this side, but we still need to cross the bridge. There's a 45 TP there, and we just fire a wild shot in his general direction. But I don't really want to engage him. I want to get past him, but when I come to the corner here, there's an IS-2 and a Thunderbolt. Now, I wouldn't be particularly worried about either one. Well, the IS-2 could do me quite a lot of damage, much more so than the Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt would probably have to know where he's shooting, and he'd be better off going for the weak spots. Now, there's plenty of weak spots. Could take me out easily enough if he knew what he was doing, and the IS-2 is now fighting somebody else, so we put a round into the side of him. But the thing is, there's what, 4 tanks between us and the cap circle, and we're just not getting there. So it's game over. I think we're capped out, and that's it. So you can see there, it performed pretty well top tier. I mean, we bounced 2,000 points of damage. We did about 2,000 points of damage. We even got 3 kills, 2nd class mastery, and a steel wall. So you will get the steel wall on this tank. I think you probably do it fairly often. We came number 1 by experience in our team, and we had one other tank as well that did similar kinds of damage. Only the 45 TP on the enemy team really did better. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a like and a share. If you've not already done so, please subscribe. I will catch you all again soon. Bye for now.